Welcome to Unbecoming with Elena Joy. This article is called Stop Reading My Face. If you can't listen to what I'm saying, don't blame my face for what you heard. If you've ever been punished for what your face is doing while someone else is talking, welcome. You are not alone. My face gets me in trouble was my go-to joke. I just didn't realize how hard I was working to manage other people's reactions. Learning control. Early on, I was conscious of learning to mask, or as I referred to it mentally, controlling my face. I have distinct memories from 5th grade of realizing that people around me were responding to something I wasn't consciously communicating. Life became easier the more I controlled my face. Even into adulthood, I would joke that my face gets me in trouble, and friends and family would laugh and respond, "Yeah, we always know what you're thinking, Elena," and "Never play poker, Elena. Your face says it all." Later, I started practicing self-awareness, trying to observe my emotions and actions with curiosity. And then it happened again. An acquaintance told me how expressive my face is and how it's nice for them to know what I'm thinking. "You're so transparent," they said. Transparent? Ever felt that weird gut flinch when someone describes you in a way that doesn't match who you think you are, like at all? You call it transparent. I call it survival. The word transparent hit like a slap because it felt so off. I felt myself go from feeling chill to agitated in half a second. The extreme contrast prompted me to step into observation mode and ask myself, so what's going on here? I had to journal it to sort it all out. The dissonant feeling came because I felt I worked so hard to communicate clearly with others. It took focus to find the right words to get the response I needed from that person in that moment. Communicating took so much energy just to be clear. I guess that's transparent? The smile that broke the spell. Then, soon after that little convo got my brain going, I had an experience with my then girlfriend that completely shifted the way I saw my communication. I was sitting at my desk in my office. She knocks and opens the door. I turn to look at her, still sitting at the desk. This context is important because it was a similar dynamic from childhood. I'd be sitting in my room and my mom would enter and speak to me from the doorway. But on this day, I was 40-something and it was my partner of 5 years. My partner was there to remind me about something I said I would do. I've been saying it for a while and she's wondering why it's still not done. Again, a very similar situation from the childhood scene. Now, she's only 3 words into what she's saying when I, 1, realize I forgot to do that thing again. 2, oh, that's because I was standing in the garage to get the tool when I realized we needed to add toilet paper to the Costco list. 3, which reminded me about how going to Costco is fun now because she's like a kid in a candy store and it's adorable. And I smile, chuckle at the memory. And all of this mental chatter was one of 4 streams of thought in my head at any given moment, but especially while working. All right, but now my partner is several sentences into her communication, and all she knows is I've let her down again, and now I'm smiling about it. She was not happy. And in a flash of clarity, I finally understood why. The minute I felt my lips turn upward, I saw her eyes flash. Connection made. I was able to clarify with her what happened, and everything was fine. For me, this was huge. Recently, I've been working hard to stay present, especially in moments that feel contentious or high stakes. If I don't stay anchored in my body, I miss things. Sometimes big things, sometimes connection altogether. Practicing presence lets me feel the smile, see the anger, and resolve the miscommunication quickly. Dots connected. And even bigger than that, the increased presence of mind allowed me to connect that present moment to many, many memories of the past. My mom would enter my room as a child, upset about something, and then, seemingly out of nowhere, her anger would spike and things didn't end well. I was never really aware of this pattern before. It was just part of normal life. Connecting that experience to the present moment with my very kind partner helped me see how many times that had happened with other people as a teenager and into my 20s. Years and years of feeling like I was constantly misunderstood, feeling like the more I let my guard down, the more emotional and confusing responses I would get from others. And not just from my mom, but also from friends, teachers, coworkers, my siblings even. By my 30s, I realized I could be very intentional about my facial expressions. I could use one of those four streams of thought to communicate the public thoughts that they likely wanted to hear, and not let anyone see the private ones. Through an 18-year marriage to a man and 2 careers, this worked very well for me, and I became known as very expressive. From expressive to diagnosed. And then in my 40s, I started getting the diagnoses. First, PTSD, then complex anxiety, and finally, ADHD. The experience of getting diagnosed is different for every neurodivergent person. For me, every label was a validation of my lived experience. It was a permission slip to finally ask for the help I needed. The labels also gave me a way to connect with my peers. Many women my age are also getting evaluated, seeking answers, rethinking life strategies, and giving themselves more grace than ever before. As we swap stories of present-day realizations from our childhoods, I realize so many of us have had the experience of the outside world responding to mostly unrelated thoughts spelled out on our faces, and the trouble that ensued. Sometimes funny, mostly not. One friend, she's literally a neurodivergent therapist who specializes in complex PTSD, shared how it's a common trauma for most of us. So many of us have reshaped our communication methods into a mask that the outside world finds palatable. Wait, trauma? I thought back to a moment when my mom walked into my room after I looked at her, over to the chair I was sitting in, and smacked my 10-year-old face, knocking my glasses across the room. You want to try smirking like that again? Trauma. No wonder I had a hard time staying present anytime things felt dicey. No wonder I had a mantra at 15 years old: my silence is my power. No wonder I used so much energy making sure my face was always just so. Some people feel the word trauma gets thrown around a lot, but for me, in that moment, it permitted me to radically acknowledge the reality of how my world responded to my neurodivergence and shaped the way I communicate for the rest of my life. That is not a pity grab. That's not a humble brag. Those experiences happened over and over again. It is what it is. And to ignore how it's impacting me, my relationships, and my business here in the present is to set myself up for failure. This acknowledgement makes the full circle moment even better. Full circle, from needing the masks to letting them go. Here's another thing so many of my female ADHD peers and I have in common. We are losing the ability to mask. Maybe it's the meds. Maybe it's perimenopause. Maybe it's the quiet truth that no amount of masking was ever going to be enough. Whatever the reason, some of us are losing this centuries-old survival strategy. It starts with those we're closest to, the ones we're used to not having to mask around. Usually they're also neurodivergents who don't have the neurotypical habit of assuming they can accurately interpret our nonverbal cues. But lately, most of my friends and I have found that the confused looks, the double takes, the awkward silences, they're back. But what if you just get to be done with managing everyone else's thoughts? Our masks are slipping. And here's the thing, we don't care anymore. We're not kids anymore. We're aware of the system, and now we have some power. We don't have the time or the pay equality to contort our faces to make things easier for you when our words are specific enough. We can say things like, if you're responding to your interpretation instead of my actual words, we're not having a real conversation, and that disconnect is not mine to manage. Or maybe it's just that we know masking takes up significant cognitive capacity. Why would we waste the brain space when there are so many other actually important problems that need that brain space to solve them? Masking is cognitive labor that I no longer have the capacity to waste. So the next time you feel the need to waste cognitive capacity restating what you just said, but with your entire face so they can hear it, Here's a line for you to use. If you can't listen to what I say, don't blame my face for what you missed. In the next article, I'm sharing more about cognitive capacity, what it is, how to know if you're running low, and a few ways to restore it. I'm writing a book on burnout and the 5 hidden capacities we lose in systems that expect us to perform instead of belong. Cognitive capacity is one of them, and masking eats that capacity for breakfast. If this story hit something in you, hit subscribe. If it explained something in you, hit reply. I know I'm not alone. And if it made you mad in a good way, send it to someone who keeps misrating your damn face. I hope you enjoyed this, fam. Be good to yourselves. I appreciate you.